Alright, this is topic 8-1, conditional statements. We're going to do a few definitions. A conditional statement is a statement written in an if-then format. A hypothesis is the phrase following but not including the word if. The conclusion is the phrase following but not including the word then. And these are just some words you're going to notice in this section that you'll need to know. So let's start with the first example. They want you to state the hypothesis and conclusion of the conditional statement. So look at the statement. If you have no more than 2 absences and a B average, then you can exempt your final. See the word if and then? So the hypothesis is the words following the word if. You have no more than 2 absences and a B average. The conclusion is you can exempt your final. So really you're just looking at the words behind the word then and behind the word if. Let's try another one. Rewrite the statement below as a conditional statement and then state the hypothesis and conclusion. Sometimes you'll have to rewrite the sentence in an if-then statement. A car with poor brakes is a menace on the highways. So poor brakes has to be the hypothesis. So here's the conditional statement. If a car has poor brakes, then it is a menace on the highway. See how you create it in an if-then statement. Let me move this up. So your hypothesis is a car has poor brakes, and your conclusion is it is a menace on the highway. Alright, example 3. Rewrite the statement below as a conditional statement, then state the hypothesis and conclusion. Mrs. Ellison gives her students homework on days that end in Y. So the hypothesis is if a day, or here's the conditional statement. If a day ends in Y, then Mrs. Ellison gives her students homework. Hypothesis, a day ends in Y. Conclusion, Mrs. Ellison gives her students homework. Now we're going to learn about, that's using conditional statements. A converse statement is formed by switching the hypothesis and conclusion of a conditional. So you just flip them around. Look at example 4. Remember in example 1 it said, you can go back and look, it said if you have no more than 2 absences and a B average, then you can exempt your final. So the converse of that is, if you can exempt your final, then you have no more than 2 absences and a B average. So you're just flipping the statement around, so the words if and then, might want to underline that. You just change what goes behind the word if and behind the word then. Let's try the next one. A lot of times they're going to ask you if the converse of a conditional statement is true or false. This kind of helps you know whether you can flip it and make it 2 different, if you can write a converse for something. So look at this next one. Let me move this up. On examples 5, it says, write a converse for the conditional statement below. Tell whether it's true or false. If an angle has a measure of 120, then it's an obtuse angle. Okay, that's the conditional statement. If you reverse it, you say if an angle is an obtuse angle, then it has the measure of 120. And the reason that's false is because an obtuse angle is any angle bigger than 90. So it could be anything that you can think of, a degree that's bigger than 90. So that's why that's false. A counterexample is an example that follows the hypothesis but not the conclusion. So that just means you can think of an example that might not work. So this one, a counterexample, like I said, to measure that an angle that measures 120. If you had one that measured 121 or 122 or anything, it's called a counterexample because it proves that your converse statement is false. That's 8-2, so I guess we're done with 8-1.